Welcome into New York Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. We're about to get into a mailbag, and we'll start with Andy's question. But if you want to be featured on the next New York Knicks Now mailbag, easy two-step process. You got to be a subscriber, so go down right now and hit that big red button, and you got to have your notifications turned on. So click that bell icon right under the video and select your notifications to all, like my guy Andy did, one of the real ones out there. He said, what do you think the starting lineup is if we don't trade for Donovan Mitchell? Okay, that's a good question. There's been a lot of conversation about who's going to start in the backcourt next to Brunson and R.J. Barrett. Is it going to be Evan Fournier? Is it going to be Quentin Grimes? Is it going to be Cam Reddish? If I was Tom Thibodeau, this is what I think the starting lineup should look like. Brunson at the 1, Barrett at the 2, Robinson at the 5, patrolling the blue paint at Madison Square Garden, Julius Randle at the 4 just because he's still on the roster. But I like Quentin Grimes to be the Knicks' starting shooting guard. I feel like he brings to this lineup what it lacks: an elite perimeter defender, a guy that can catch and shoot from the outside, doesn't have to have plays run for him at all. And I believe that he's someone that just fits what we need. He can shoot the 3. He can play defense. He is someone that can do it all. So my starting 5 would be Brunson, Grimes, Barrett, Randle, and Mitchell, Robinson. I do have a question for all of you guys, though. What is your starting 5? Would you roll with Quentin Grimes at the 2? Or do you want Evan Fournier at the 2? Or do you want Cam Reddish? The reason I like Grimes, he's the best defender out of all of them. He doesn't need to have the ball in his hands to be effective. I just think he fits what that starting 5 needs. So I want you guys to answer this question in the comments for me right now. What is your starting 5 with no Donovan Mitchell trade? Let me know in the comments right now. And look, if a Donovan Mitchell trade happens, we are going to be going live on this channel, youtube.com/KnicksTV. Hit that red button. We're trying to get to 12,000 subscribers on the channel. We've been growing like crazy. Since the NBA draft, we've gained almost 4,000 subscribers. So join the fastest growing New York Knicks channel out there. Lock us in, hit that big red button, and turn on your notifications. Keith Jackson, what up, bro? He says, how do you feel about the Knicks tampering with Jalen Brunson? Great question. If it costs him a second-round pick, I don't care. If it costs him a first-round pick, I think that's a problem. I think we got to go back and look at what other teams have been fined for tampering. The Miami Heat, they got fined for tampering last NBA offseason when they did a sign and trade for Kyle Lowry. They got fined a second-round pick. The Chicago Bulls, they were fined a second-round pick for tampering with Lonzo Ball. But I think this situation is a little bit different because Brunson has legit ties to the New York Knicks. His dad, he's on the staff. His godfather, Leon Rose. Leon Rose's son works for CAA and is Jalen Brunson's agent. So are you not allowed to talk to your dad about where you want to go? Are you not allowed to talk to your godfather about where you want to go? Are you not allowed to talk to your agent where you want to go? I think it's a really tricky situation. I don't think the Knicks needed to tamper. I don't know if they have tampered. You're innocent until proven guilty. But I really don't care, honestly, if it costs a second-round pick to secure the Brunson deal. I'm down for it. I just hope it's nothing more than a second-round pick. Keith, I hope that answered your question. I don't really care all that too much unless the penalty starts to get steeper and steeper. Great question, though. Randy NYK, what up, man? He says, if we trade for Mitchell, who do you think will be interested in Julius Randle? Okay, I see what you're saying. So we have heard reports that the New York Knicks have been in talks with the Los Angeles Lakers about a salary dump of Randle, and it'd have to be plus another guy like Derrick Rose, for Russell Westbrook and a couple first-round picks. Russell Westbrook will never play a series of basketball for the New York Knicks. They would waive him as a buyout. They would use that money to get off of Julius Randle's multi-year contract. But other teams besides the Lakers that I think could be interested in Julius Randle are kind of listed in tiers right here. I think there's really only 2 teams that show legit interest. That's the Lakers, because we know we've had reports about that. I also think the Charlotte Hornets could also be a team. They need a power forward. I will not say his name, but that shithead who did what he did and got himself out of the NBA, they have to replace him. They got to get a power forward. That could be Julius Randle. What about the Detroit Pistons? Go back to the NBA trade deadline. There was rumors that the Knicks and the Detroit Pistons had some talks about Julius Randle, and I think he could be that veteran in the lineup next to Cade Cunningham, Jaden Ivey, and Jalen Duren. The Atlanta Hawks, there's been talks that they're interested in trading John Collins. Maybe you get a Randle and a first-round pick for John Collins trade. I think Randle fits what the Atlanta Hawks want to do on offense. And I included the Kings because it's the Sacramento Kings. If anyone's going to trade for Randle, it might be a dumb franchise like the Kings. They were also tied to Randle back at the NBA trade deadline, so I could see that. But I want to ask you guys this question. Do you think Randle's going to be on the Knicks to start the season? I mean, I know a lot of people don't want him on the Knicks to start the season, but I'm asking you to predict it for me. Not if you want it or if you don't. Do you think he will be? Type Y for yes, type N for no. I think if we trade for Donovan Mitchell, I think he's gone. If we don't, I do think Randle will still be here. Nice Mellow, what up? He says, with Donovan Mitchell on the team, I think the Knicks can win 54 games. Do you agree? 54. That's a lot of games. Last year, the New York Knicks won 37 games with Evan Fournier and Alec Burks starting 60-plus games in the backcourt. 54 would be a huge jump. But I think the Knicks could win 45 games with Donovan Mitchell, 46, 47. I think anything north of that would be gravy on top, and it would be good for the New York Knicks. 54, that's a whole lot of wins. I think the Knicks will be good. I think they're a team that can make the playoffs and not the play-in. I have a big difference in that. You're either a playoff team or a play-in team. I think the Knicks, if they trade for Donovan Mitchell, are a playoff team. 54 games, that's a little high for me. I'll roll close to 45, 46, 47. But great question, bro. I appreciate it. Charles, what up, fam? Do you think by the end of the day, we will get Spida through a 3-team trade with the Lakers? By the end of today? No, I do not think Donovan Mitchell will be traded today. I think a Donovan Mitchell deal is going to come closer to September when training camp opens, when teams report back. Because of a lot of executives, I mean, Danny Ainge is on vacation right now. This is the time of year where executives and team front offices go on vacation. Late July, early August, because September is when training camp gets picked up. So no, I don't think it happens today, but I would not be surprised if it is a 3-team deal where Randle ends up going to the Los Angeles Lakers. I actually think that might be what happens. I do think a 3-team trade is definitely on the table. Appreciate your question, Charles. Charles, if you love to bet, go to chatsports.com/bet, because with the NBA season right around the corner and the NFL season right around the corner, it's time to lay some lettuce on the line. When you go to chatsports.com/bet and you use the promo code chat125, they will hook you up, BetUS, with a 125% deposit bonus. So if you put $100 in, you use chat125, you're going to have $225 in your account to bet with on NFL Sundays or when the NBA season is right around the corner. So get hooked up with our proud sportsbook partner, BetUS. Go to chatsports.com/bet. Just make sure you use the promo code chat125. Super City 55, I know you're not the biggest fan of Cam Reddish, but could he be the X factor on this team? I don't want to say I'm not a big fan of Cam Reddish. I'm just not a Cam Reddish hive guy. I'm not really a Cam Reddish fanboy. I believe you got to show me before I start to believe in you. If you can get the best version of Cam Reddish, though, I do think he is the guy that could change the immediate future more so than everybody on the Knicks. If you get that player that we thought he was coming into Duke as one of the top players in the nation, someone that's a small forward, 6'8", 6'9", can put it on the deck, score at all 3 levels, be great in the open court, shoot the 3-point ball, be a second scorer next to a guy like Jalen Brunson, I do think Reddish could be the X factor. But when he got to the Knicks, he didn't play all that well or that much. Just 15 games, 6 points per game, and he wasn't efficient. Less than 42%, less than 26% from 3. But he has had some big games, and he's played well for the Hawks at times. He was good in the Eastern Conference Finals when the Hawks made it that far 2 years ago. So I do see the potential in Cam Reddish. I see what everybody else sees. A 6'8" wing, long, lanky, athletic, can finish at the cup, left hand, right hand. There's no doubt Cam Reddish has all the potential in the world, but you're entering year 4. It's now or never. I want him to be great because I think a lineup of Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, and Cam Reddish could be a nice little three-pod that the Knicks could build around young guys going forward. I just got to see it with Cam Reddish, and before I fully dive in and believe that he's the guy that could take the Knicks to the next step. But I want to ask you guys once again one more question. What are your thoughts on Cam Reddish? Because this is a two-way conversation. It's not just all about me and my opinions. I want to hear from you. Let me know what you think about Cam Reddish. Type you if you think he has untapped potential, or if you think he's a bust and he's never going to be the player he was supposed to be coming out of Duke. You can type B for bust. B for bust, U for untapped potential. I'm curious what all you guys think. Joel Santos, who should the Knicks sign as a small forward heading into the season? I don't think the Knicks need to sign anybody if they don't make a trade for Donovan Mitchell. Let's pop that roster cord up if you can, Seeps, and let's take a look at this whole entire roster. Because if you don't sign anyone, you're already kind of full on this roster. I mean, look at it. This is with Quentin Grimes starting. Off the bench at the wing spot, you have Reddish and Evan Fournier. You kind of have a logjam off the bench. You got Quickly and Rose who play the 1 and the 2. You have Reddish who can play a swing spot at the 2 or the 3. You have Fournier who can play at the 2 or the 3. So I don't really think you need to go out and sign another player. But if the Knicks do trade for Donovan Mitchell, I do think they will go out and sign someone. But if they don't, I think the Knicks roster is ultimately set. You have 5 guys starting right here and another 7 guys off the bench. That's 12 guys already right there. We know Tom Thibodeau has a short rotation. I don't expect him to go 13 deep. So if the Knicks don't sign anyone or make a trade for Donovan Mitchell, I don't think they're in the camp of signing anyone at this point. Like the question, but I'm going to base it that we haven't signed Donovan Mitchell or traded for Donovan Mitchell. If they do trade for the Spider, I could see a guy like Josh Jackson, Tony Snell, or even Carmelo Anthony. Francesco, what up, bro? He said, what about D.Rose, guys? Is he staying or not? Thanks. Like. Hit that thumbs up icon for everybody that's watching right now. That's a good question about Derrick Rose, because if I was the Utah Jazz, I would want Derrick Rose in a trade, and it's only for one reason. He has 1 year left on his contract worth $14 million. He's an expiring deal. If I'm a team that's trading Mitchell and I'm looking to rebuild, I want expiring contracts. I'd love to keep Derrick Rose. What he's done for the Knicks since he came over for the Detroit Pistons is arguably the best trade that this regime has made. I mean, it was a steal. A second-round pick in Dennis Smith Jr. for Derrick Rose. I'd love for him to stay, but I think he's an attractive piece in a trade. $14 million of expiring deal. Teams that are rebuilding, they covet pieces like that. So I don't think we'll include him in another trade, but I don't think he makes it out of the Donovan Mitchell trade, if that answers your question. What up, Alan? Last question on this mailbag. MG, should the Knicks trade Randle? This season is big in determining what we got in both Obi and Cam. Should they trade him? I'm going to go off the idea that you did not land Donovan Mitchell, because I think if you land Mitchell, Randle's gone. We've kind of heard that from a lot of credible sources. I don't think the Knicks should trade Randle just yet. And the reason I say that is because his value is at an all-time low, in my opinion. And it's a bad idea for a sports franchise, for a business, to trade anyone while their value is at their lowest point. Let Randle build up that value, I guess is the word to describe it. And I'm kind of interested to see how Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle work together. Because the last time Randle was good, he played with a point guard. He couldn't shoot for shit in Elfrid Payton, but Payton was a good distributor and a playmaker. He got Randle in good spots, and he also has always played good with Derrick Rose. So I don't think they should trade Randle just yet. But if things go sour, if things go left again this season, I think you definitely got to trade him. Alan, I appreciate your question. And I want to do this before we get out of here. If you made it this far in the video, type real one in the comments right now.